about, sort of adjudicating it, where can it be,
Like the coaches, right?
yeah, where can we do a better job? And the one thing that really got me was the fact of the timing. Most of the stuff was some of the cues were off, and it was part of it was because there was some physical stuff that was an issue. But the timing was the thing that really got me, because those were over the top type pieces, and so it was a question of whether to respond to the cue verbally or whether to respond physically. You got to do one or the other. But if there's a break where you're thinking of your line, the rhythm's lost in the piece. And so there were some things where I could see the actors thinking about what they were going to do next, what they were going to move to, or whether they were listening for the cues. And so I'm being really critical here, okay? But I think that you really have to invest in the characters, and why I'm saying this is because the last two things that you saw tonight, the two women, there was no question that they had those characters. They were those people that they were reading. And is it because both of them were dictated by the script that they had to Francis's piece, it's actually written that way, so it was dictated by the script how you would do that, and just Mrs. Malenthrop's name is going to tell you what to do with that character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I have a question. When you're doing a real person, when there's no crutch of an accent or a dictate from the script, and you have to decide what that character really wants, I'm not sure that actors take enough time deciding on who that character is.
To me, that is very difficult to play a real person, rather than, as you just said, somebody who has the script, as a prop.
I wonder if that's true for everyone.
But when you say a real person, you mean a person that doesn't have an accent, or is that what you mean?
Or a limp, or
yeah, or some other thing they can hold on to.
Some kind of
Right.
a definite character.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some language in the. It's like art not wanting to do an English accent for a Shakespeare play.
Oh,
I mean, you have to be attempted for it to be right. But some of the plays when you're intellectually trying to grasp the character, it's more difficult, right? Lee just said it. It is. So I was thinking today, what are those things? Why, and some people do it with not a problem, and some people can't. What is it? What's the barrier for allowing yourself to be?
well, maybe sometimes, like, this was just my perception of some of the actors, where they're wanting to be the character or something other than what's on the page. Like, I don't know how to put it into words, but like they would be contrary to the character because of how they wanted it to be, not how it actually was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, in a way, but
Isn't that though, Laura, isn't, aside, and not diminishing the role of the director, but isn't what the actor has to do is to get into that character and reveal it? As they perceive that character's
But they
motivation?
can't rewrite it
Yeah,
to be what they
Right.
want it to be. The script is what the script
there
is.
is a tendency
Yeah,
in
and
some of those pieces, and it was kind of jarring.
And-
You were looking at it thinking, what?
yeah,
Is
I'm not
that-
talking about anyone in this room, but
Yeah.
and I'm
True,
not just
that's a
looking
relief.
at- But I felt that during rehearsal that some actors were attempting to rewrite the character according to what they thought it should be, rather than what was in the script.
But isn't that, like, I think Tony said this before, is when you look for the clues in the script.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, right. It's like
Right.
being a detective or a psychologist or something, and you're really trying to psych out the character that's
Right.
created. They don't. Maybe people don't actually know how to do it. You know, maybe you're born with that ability.
is it
Is
that?
it?
That's true.
Yeah.
But
It seems to me that people can interpret the same script in different ways. I mean, I really have no background in this at all, but it seems to me someone standing up there doing their acting bit too often is just looking outside of themselves. I don't know, not within themselves. It's I don't know. This is the way I feel sometimes with it. I don't know if it makes sense to anyone else, but not really.
Well, you know, there's a point at which you can't see yourself, okay, so, you know, that requires a director to, you know, and if the director, you know, is good enough, you know, they can build, you know, more texture in the performance. But when it comes to the choices for the actors, you know, I always talk about making smart choices, but is it exercises that actors need? So you have a muscle memory of it? You know, so that, you know.
It wouldn't hurt.
For example,
It wouldn't
here's
hurt.
an example. Here's an example. And if we have time, maybe we'll do this in some improv. If I'm performing, and now the camera is different. Those of you that perform in front of a camera, that's totally different than working on stage. Because if you're in a play, there's a fourth wall. Unless it's the kind of a, you know, performance that is a like a nightclub act where you have to engage the audience. You always have to do that. But in a play, you can't do that. Because you can't, because that's sometimes that's intimidating to the audience. So with that said, you have to decide whether or not it's, I don't know how to say this, where you place the emphasis of that being that you are in, you know, that you adorn, whether or not it's coming from here, or you push it right here, which is totally different, because that gives the whole effect totally different. That's like a lecture. You know, you can walk around like, you know, the big guys, and we talked about it last week with the, you know, the comedians. You know, it's right here because, well, I'm entertaining you now. But as an actor doing a scene, you know, you have to engage the other actor. Okay, so they are voyeurs to this scene. So you have to allow them to climb aboard. But also, you have to know when to make an intellectual decision and when to make an emotional decision for the character. I think I just got it. You have to allow yourself to be, whether that's making an intellectual decision or an emotional decision. And all of that encompasses whether or not you understand the character that you're playing. So, let's go back to the first thing, the Christmas thing. When it first started out, we had no idea it was about Santa Claus. Right? First couple lines, I forget what they are,
Yeah.
but the first couple lines. The only way that we would have an indication that it was about Santa Claus, if we played a little bit over the top, then we would, because some of the stuff is absurd. The guy shot Santa Claus. So, unless he's the guy at Macy's, you know, and we're talking about the real guy with the reindeer, we have to make some decisions. Well, The Perfect Analyst was like that,
Yes.
where it was a little over the top. Some of the things were a little bit absurd, you know? And so I saw some decisions made by the actors that I thought, I tried to figure out why they did that. And I couldn't. So I'm really confused as to, you know, what to help actors with.
What the heck, what?
Help. How you help them. I mean, if the performance is not up to performance level, then something's wrong. And I always blame the director.
Yeah.
I always blame the director.
Oh.
Okay, close up of Lee. Zoom right in there.
But that's not fair.
Not true, not true.
Because, you know, as you tell an actor, you have a discussion with an actor, you give suggestions to the actor,
And they don't do it.
That's right.
and they don't do it.
Or they do it, and then they don't do it.
So, I'm really...
I got a suggestion. This is a really, like, probably grade school suggestion. Is maybe if you help, make them ask those questions that I remember when I first came here, you asked me what the motivation was.
Yes.
And ask who is this person? Why do they act this way? If they actually do that, maybe they don't do that consciously. They just think they know the minute they read it.
I think that's probably in my conversation all the time. What does this
Yeah, I
character
know, I
want?
know.
I always say that.
I know.
Well, you have to know,
Huh?
understand the character you're playing. You have to be that person rather than a character of that person. I saw a play and the leading woman had a fabulous voice, but she was just like a cardboard figure walking on the stage, you know, because she didn't understand the character.
Could it also be fear? Just plain fear, you know. You might be able to read it at home with the right emotion, and you get up in front of everybody, and you fall back into your comfort zone, which is the stat.
Yeah,
you know.
that may be
Yeah.
the first couple of nights of a
Yeah.
play, but then after a while, you do
Yeah.
know the character. You know,
Yeah.
you feel more comfortable with it.
When it comes to actors not doing what the director says, are we talking short term, like just immediately disregarding, or are we talking more long term?
Both.
Oh, well, as far as long-term is concerned, like, one thing that I would always do when I'm working on a script or anything like that is like, I'll immediately jot down anything that the director says, so that when I look at the script while I'm going over my lines, I can be like, oh yes, that's what I need to do, so I can retain it better. I mean, if you don't write, if I don't write down the notes that a person gives me, I don't retain it, or it becomes much harder.
So, when you talk about the fear, is it the fear of the audience? Or is it the fear that you don't know the frickin' lines?
Both.
Yeah, I think
I think
it's,
that's where the fear is.
You know,
Yeah.
as far as the lines go, it seems if where is your head? Is it concentrating on the lines, or is it concentrating on a character? If you have to concentrate too much on the lines, then you kind of forget the character. It's like a balance. You've got so much,
takes you out.
and you know what percentage is.
It takes you out of character if you don't know the lines, because you're thinking. And a person doesn't, I mean, we do think before we speak, but not in a way that we're searching for something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it takes you totally out of character when you have to remember the lines. Where was I? What am I supposed to do now? What just
Yeah.
happened?
It makes you nervous when you don't know the lines. Also,
Or
you know,
something
not
else.
everyone performs in front of a live audience on a regular basis, so they can't
Yes.
have stage fright, which, I mean, when I first started, my first night in this workshop, I was shaking like a leaf. I was everything, and it was just in front of like 5 people,
Well.
and I was terrified.
You know,
And well, apart from that, there's also the question of what is the actor's attitude towards the script? I mean, if they
Yeah.
if they just don't like the script, I mean.
That's bad casting.
Or the performance. Sometimes people kind of turn off to the whole thing.
What do you mean?
I mean, they've learned their lines, they know the blocking, and that's all they're interested in.
and it's automatic pilot,
And
is
it's
what you're saying.
automatic pilot, and they just do it. And they put into it whatever they're gonna do, and there's no real effort after that.
So it's like, learn the lines, learn the blocking, but there's no characterization.
And no real emotion.
Trying to think, but the reason I'm saying all this is how we go forward with the workshop. That's why I'm doing this. Because I know myself. I didn't think that way before, but I do now. You can't do a good job if you don't rehearse.
you can't, you really can't.
You know? I think, you know, of all the adjudication I did on that thing was mine, you know, what I did. You know, I was disappointed in what I did because, you know, I didn't rehearse.
That's not the comments I heard from my friends.
You know,
They thought-
I saw
They
what I
thought
did.
extremely highly of you,
Yeah.
within,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, look at the situation.
It
Come
was
on,
so
Tony, be
extraordinary
kind to
circumstance.
yourself. You
No,
you
but
stepped in the
but-
My
last
friends
minute.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
They had no idea that Tony
Yeah, I know,
wasn't supposed to do that in the
I
first
know,
place.
he was completely at home in the part.
I think that was really part of it, though. I mean, a big part of it, if you ask me, because it was much more confusing backstage. For me, the help that I had before was gone, because you were now gone off into a part. Other people were having to switch everything around. Nobody really, felt like a rehearsal instead of a performance to me. It just did, because there were so many loose ends still. By the time we had to go onto stage, it was still very shaky in terms of the flow of everything. And I think that threw people off. And the fact that we don't have a crew, you know, we really need to, when we perform, we need to have a crew, so we're not asking actors to take things
Yeah, I
off
agree with
stage
that.
and, you know,
You need a
worry
stage
about
manager
props,
and-
you need a stage manager.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it just is so hard to keep all of that in and then be the character. So I thought it was just a difficult situation, unfortunate. And I don't like making excuses, because that's just an excuse, but that is a fact. That's the way it was.
Well, you know, I just come to the conclusion that it's rehearsals.
Sorry?
It's rehearsals.
yeah, we didn't have enough
No, that's
on the
what it is.
stage. And I think, you know, the next performance that we do here, you need to talk to them and say, you gotta give us time on that
Access.
stage. 3 times on the stage is not enough.
No, it's not.
It's just not enough. And then having everything switched around at the last minute, you're like, what's next? What goes on? What comes off? You know, it was really.
And then you know, not for anything, but you have some technical issues where, how could that be? That's not the music for the Tooth Fairy.
Right.
No, for Shakespeare. There wasn't a, I don't know which one it was.
Whatever
but-
it was,
I went-
you're right.
Yeah, there was one
So
that
I was
wrong.
thinking what the
Yes.
music was for.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. And that's just like having
And
to think
then,
about
no.
your lines.
It was, so,
Yeah.
but those things happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
But not that many
if
in
you
one
have,
night.
but if you have enough rehearsals, you know, it's muscle memory that takes
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the thing that you need to do. And I think that in the workshop, you know, I think that we should try to do, whether it's 5 lines or 25 or 50 lines or 3 pages, it doesn't make any difference. I think you need to start memorizing or working on a piece until you get it up to performance level. Instead of changing the pieces all the time like we're doing. Because because the same things happen with the next piece. So I think if you work on a piece, first of all, you have to like the piece that you work on. Once you decide that, then you get it up to performance level. And I think if we all think like that, you know, you sort of take a consensus. You know, after you do it twice, or 3 times, or 4, 5, whatever,
So you got it right.
is it performance level? And the gallery certainly will tell you. And I think that's where you really grow as an actor.
I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
You really do. You grow as an actor. You know, because what happens, you think, you know, you get up to a certain, you know, level of performance in your own mind, and you think you can do. I'm just talking about myself, you know. You know, I'm totally different as an actor than I am as a director, because there's a, you know, and so, you know, I think that you need the rehearsal time, so that you can be comfortable when you go out there, and you know the lines. So I think that's what you all should do. Find a piece that you really like. You know, whether it's a scene, or whether it's you know, we've done. Listen, in this workshop, there has been some magnificent performances
Oh, yeah.
in some things. So one of the ones that was really good was that one that you were in it. And you were in it. The one about the.
The Irish.
The Irish
The
one?
Irish one,
Yeah.
the Irish
Yeah, that was wonderful.
That was
What was it, the Queen
that
of
was performance level.
Queen of Lebanon or something like
Yeah.
that?
That was wonderful.
Good scene.
But why? I was thinking back about
We
why.
worked the hell out of it.
That's right, because we
Yeah,
worked
we
it. That's
loved it.
why.
Yeah, and we loved
We
it.
loved it. It was
Enjoyed
just,
doing
it was
it.
one of those
So there's
pieces.
2
Yeah.
keys right there. Work the hell out of it and love it.
Yeah.
And if you don't love it, find something you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always come in and say, "You got something tonight?" Yeah. Okay. Cool. And just to eat up the time. But I think if you bring something back and you learn something, I think you can put that in your toolbox, and it'll help you out for the next thing that you do. So just think about it, and when we see each other a week from Thursday, is next week's Turkey Day. We can start working towards that end. And if you change your mind on something, you can do that too. But you know, you have to really decide that you want to work on it.